Intuition sounds gentle and sometimes a little scary, but it's gentle in that scariness. Whereas fears, ego, anxiety is loud, is disruptive. So that's a starting place with learning how to refine your intuition. Oh my gosh, we're starting the How I Let Love In YouTube series. Today is the very first of a 4-week series on how I let love in. I went from single for 7 years to finding my soulmate, and for the next 4 weeks, every week I'm going to be teaching you a new principle that I have adopted, learned, taken with me to get me from one point to the next. I'm in a 2-year relationship now as a result of all this inner work that I did. And so I'm so excited to give you a little bit of glimpse on some of the things that I did, some of the most loving things that I did also for myself. That's a big, big component to get me to experiencing the type of relationship that I've been wanting and dreaming of for a really long time. So please mark your calendars. Every Sunday, 6 p.m. PST, there will be a new teaching, the first of 4 total, and I can't wait to bring you along for the ride. Real quick, last month I did 4-week series on business mindset. So if you are currently working on a business or you've always been specifically focused on just looking at strategy and not looking at mindset when it came to supporting your business, growing and expanding your business, I cannot recommend the 4-week business mindset series enough. We talked about shifting limiting beliefs around sales. We talked about how to build a strong mindset through revenue ups and downs. It's a really great series. Go ahead and check it out. I'll go ahead and I will link it to this video somewhere up here. It always pops up either right here or right here, so you'll see it pop up in just a second. Okay, awesome. Let's dive into week 1. So, how did I go from 7 years being single to meeting and finding and choosing a soulmate? Principle number 1, I tossed every dating rule I had ever heard out the window. And I started listening to my inner guidance. I started listening to myself. There's so many dating rules out there that started to really mess with my head. I was reading so many books, listening to so many different podcasts, so many different rules. I was clouded with what I should be doing, what I shouldn't be doing. And I was constantly just grasping for something that felt right. When in truth, I realized I needed to grasp more of my heart, grasp more of myself, and connect a little bit more with my intuition. Here are some of the dating rules that I had previously utilized and previously adopted that were either given to me by my grandma or given to me by someone else in a book or in a podcast. Some of them are silly. And as I was writing this list, I'm like, man, I really used to do this. Here's some examples. Don't be the one to text first 90% of the time. You have to let the other person text first way more than you to make sure that they're always showing up, to make sure that you aren't showing up as too needy. Don't sleep with someone or be intimate with someone until you're engaged and have a ring on your finger. Don't be intimate with someone until after the 6th date. Always go out on dates the first 3 months. Don't ever go to each other's home or each other's residence before that first 90 days. Don't stop dating other people until someone that you want to choose has expressed exclusivity. Date minimum 3 people at a time until someone has expressed exclusivity. Don't tell them on the first date that you're looking for marriage. Tell them on the first date that you're looking for marriage. When I was like, what do I tell them? And then finally, example is don't talk too much on the first date. I love my grandma. She's so supportive. She's my best friend. We talk about everything. The one thing she told me is she said, Netika, you talk too much. Don't talk too much on the first date. You have to be mysterious. Boys don't like someone who talks too much. And I listened a little bit at times because I thought she was right. I won't get ahead of myself, but let's just say I learned really quickly that wasn't going to work for me. So what's the right way? What's the right way in terms of following dating rules? What do we do? What rules do you follow? Which ones do you not follow? The right way to date is actually your way. The right way to date is to do whatever truly feels aligned with who you are, your values, what you want to share, and who you want to be. Text them first when you feel like it. Tell them you love them first when you feel like it. That was another one. There was a part in my head that I was always telling myself, I'm never going to tell them I love them first. In this most recent relationship, I told him right away as soon as I felt it. And I was honest and I said, hey, I love you. And you don't have to tell me if you don't feel that way right now, but I love you and I'm being honest about that. And I appreciate you and I love you. I didn't expect anything in return, and it was perfect and it was wonderful because that was what was right for me. That was my own personal dating rule that felt right for me. Tell them you love them first, be intimate when you want, and just screw all the rules that are other people's rules and that are not yours. I do want to say a quick little thing. It's okay to use other people's rules if they feel aligned with you. There's nothing wrong with the rules, but there's so many rules out there that we start clouding what's actually meant for us, what actually feels right for us, what's actually aligned with us. And I actually removed all my dating books. I stopped listening to all the dating podcasts, and I started just really listening to my heart and listening to myself. And I really started leaning into my intuition. Intuition is in here somewhere. You've just gotten used to not listening to it, and you've gotten used to feeling clouded with your judgments and what's the right thing to do, what's the not right thing to do. Intuition sounds gentle and sometimes a little scary, but it's gentle in that scariness. Whereas fears, ego, anxiety is loud, is disruptive. So that's a starting place with learning how to refine your intuition. I'll be honest, I screwed up a lot in the whole learning to refine my intuition, but also in that screwing up whenever I listened to something that felt like it was my intuition, but actually wasn't. I still used it as a learning opportunity. I still saw it as a growth opportunity. I still saw it as, okay, well, screwed that one up. And it wasn't ever like a royal screw up. It was just a little bit of that could have gone differently. I'll try better next time. And every time I got better and better at listening to my intuition. And every time maybe I could have made a different decision or taken a different action, I gained information on what works for me and what doesn't. And every time I got better and better at listening to my intuition. And before I knew it, it was so much easier to show up on dates, to clearly communicate, to clearly set boundaries, to clearly communicate my desires and my expectations, just from a place of honesty. And I also knew that the person that I was meant to be with on the other end was going to be someone that's going to receive me and my rules and my communicating and my boundaries and my desires. And if they didn't, that's okay. That was just a reflection of this isn't a match. And that was okay too. So your homework is I want you to start identifying a list of the current dating rules that you're living by. And identify, okay, which ones of these are working for me and which ones of these are not working for me. And I want you to drop or redefine at least 5 of them. For one, it was don't text them first 90% of the time. I scratched that rule right away. And if I felt like texting the person that I was dating, I would text them from a place of love, from a place of desire, from a place of curiosity, from a place of genuinely wanting to connect with them. So that's an example of one that I redefined. Some other ones that I just completely dropped was date minimum of 3 people at the same time until someone expresses exclusivity. I learned about myself very quickly that I'm very monogamous in my dating as well as in my relationship during this season of my life. I'm open to that changing at any point. I'm not stuck in one way forever, but I'm very monogamous in my dating. And I did actually have a hard time trying to juggle multiple connections with multiple people. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what works for you. For some people, that works really, really well to make sure that they're not attached to just one person. But for me, it had my mind all jumbled and screwed up. And I gave myself permission to just date one person at a time until it worked out or until I decided to move on. And in that process, I had to do some inner work on myself to make sure I wasn't getting attached to these partners. I wasn't getting attached to the one person at a time that I was dating. And I was able to release them if that's what was right. So that's another one that I redefined and I dropped. Or maybe for you, you have been only monogamous in your dating, but you're like, wow, I need to date at least 2 or 3 or 4 people at the same time until someone expresses exclusivity. That feels right for me. Then lean into that, redefine that, and drop that previous dating rule. And let me know how it goes. I'd love to hear what are some of your dating rules down in the comments. I am going to be doing a masterclass on love, and it's going to be called Safe to Be Loved. I'm going to go through the process of how we can work on ourselves, to open our hearts, to connect to ourselves, to connect to our desires, and actually allow love in. Love in romantic relationships, but love in any other aspect of life. So I'll be teaching that masterclass in the middle of July. If that sounds like something that you'd love to be a part of, I've included the link down below in the notes, and I'd love to see you there. But if you have any questions, just drop them down in the comments. Drop them down in the chat. I'm going to be doing this masterclass live twice a year, once in July and then once in February around Valentine's Day. And also my birthday. My birthday is 2 days before Valentine's Day. So I always like to do something a little special. Valentine's Day is my favorite holiday. Out of all the holidays, it's the holiday of love. So I'll be recreating and redoing this masterclass then. But if you want to catch it live now, you can do so at the link. But if you're watching the replay of this video and you haven't caught it just yet, or maybe it passed, don't worry, you can still go ahead and book your spot for when I'm doing it in February. So that's all I have for today. Let me know how your homework goes. Let me know some of the crazy kooky dating rules that you've heard about. And I hope that you connect a little bit more with your way of doing things, with your intuition, with your own rules, and you lean into them a little bit more this week. Let me know how it goes, and I will see you next week on next week's topic for how I let love in.